Smart people, they work in McKinsey, and founders, they're crazy. For consumers, simplicity is much more significant than number of features, is much more significant than anything. What many people don't understand, that retention is not about product. Retention is about user case. It means that you may create the perfect app for gym, will have terrible retention. Why? Because gyms themselves have terrible retention. Never take general advice. It's always bullshit. If you look on history of any company or any CEO, you would see that everything is so nuanced, everything is so unique. Thousands of ways to be successful, and you just should choose your way.
Ready to go? Dmitry, I am such a fan of the incredible journey with Flow. So first off, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for inviting.
Not at all. Listen, I've wanted to make this happen for a while. I would love to start. I read actually an interview you'd done before, and I heard that you had a single mother who worked as a librarian. You got your first job at 16. Take me to that. How did those early years shape you as an entrepreneur?
As I see you, I'm not so young. I'm 41 years old, and my childhood was in 90s in Belarus. Difficult times, like the world, Soviet world was destroyed, like everything ruined. People didn't have salaries, shelters were empty. Like a salary of my mother was maybe $30 and nothing to buy because shelters in shops were empty. And we were growing our own food. We had potato field, vegetables in this field. We had a garden. We were making like hundreds of jars of pickles. And mostly we were feeding ourselves by this production. Like I still don't like potato, honestly. I can't eat anymore. But it was a good life lesson. It was a lesson of farming. And the lesson of farming teach you just can't fake farming. It means that you should take potato, not eat it immediately, even if you're hungry. And you should put this potato to ground. And then you mustn't eat this potato next day. And even 1 month after, you should wait. And then you should work hard, and you can't fake this job. And then it's like you never have 100% of chances that you would get your potato back, because, I don't know, it may be hail, it may be frost, it may be bugs. But then, if you're lucky and you work hard, then you will get your harvest. But also it's a lesson of diversification, because you should have not just potato, you also should have vegetables and the garden. Because like if it's like bad harvest of potatoes, then vegetables or apples or something. And like something you will have to eat, but you can't fake that.
Dmitry, what was your first business? You said that your first job was at 16. What was your first business?
My first job for money was gathering of mushrooms. And we had 2 types of kids in our village. Gatherers of berries and gatherers of mushrooms. And it was 2 different types of businesses. Because in case of berries, you're like just sitting on the same place in the wood, and approximately you may gather the same volume of berries per day, and it's stable income. In case of mushrooms, you should walk around the wood, and if you're lucky, you may get much mushrooms and even a lot of money, but another day you will get nothing. And psychologically, all kids were divided on 2 categories: who preferred fixed income or who preferred like a mushroom gathering. And I and my brother, we always were mushrooms gatherers. We always preferred like to take a chance for bigger gains and to have this journey around the wood rather than to sit on the place for fixed income.
Dmitry, how does this work? How do you go from mushroom gathering and farming potatoes and that very wholesome upbringing in that respect to founding one of the largest female? How do you get into technology first?
Between mushroom gathering and founding of Flow was 20 years. It means that it was a long professional journey before we founded Flow. And I spent half of my professional life in book publishing. And I wrote books by myself, computer books, and then we worked with my brother for publishing house, and then we started our own publishing house. And I spent approximately 10 years in this world of books, and I was responsible for approximately 2,000 titles of educational books. And honestly, I had a big pleasure from this work because it was so material. Like you're working with something and you're getting material result. It's almost like you're getting your baby and you may touch it. Like it was very physical pleasure with these books. And then very big change happened when App Store was opened in 2008 and 2009. And that moment we decided to work with mobile apps, and the idea was very simple, to start from content apps based on books. And then gradually, it's a longer story, but we got to Flow.
Well, I mean, Flow was the third app that you did. You did two before Flow. What did you learn from the two before Flow not working that you took with you to Flow?
Really, we had much more than two. We had 2 attempts to create a successful period tracker. But before Flow, we had me and my brother and partners. We started 2,000 different apps, some of them successfully, some of them less successfully. Overall, my brother and me, like I participated in different projects for different extent. We had success with these apps. We had 6 exits up to this moment. We had exit to Google, exit to Facebook. We started several companies which has revenue in 100 million, 50 million. It means that it was like quite a journey before Flow. Like it was 5-6 years of work before Flow. It was not so simple. Then we just decided, we would create successful period tracker, and we just started, and it was immediate success. But even with our experience, like we got success with Flow from the third attempt. The first period tracker failed, the second period tracker failed, and just
why did they fail?
These apps were too complicated. And what we definitely learned from experience with consumer-facing products, that for consumers, simplicity is the most significant. It's much more significant than number of features, is much more significant than anything. Simplicity is the key of success in consumer-facing products. And probably we created this first apps being beautiful, sophisticated, but too complicated for people. It's my theory, but honestly, nobody knows. It's always very irrational at the beginning.
When we look at Flow, you break many rules with respect. We're often told, when it comes to an idea, choose a problem that you've personally felt and can really empathize with. With respect, Dmitry, you're wonderful, but you don't empathize with period tracking. Is that bad advice, to choose a problem that you know?
I would say that any general advice is bad. Any general advice is bullshit. Every time when you say something any sentence with every, each, any general advice is bad. Any. And this advice is bad as well, because this advice is it assumes that each situation is the same. But no. Life is very nuanced, and each situation is very different. And usually when people ask this question, they assume 2 different questions. One question is, if it's not about your own pain, how did you find motivation? And if it's not your pain, how did you find knowledge? And motivation, I always wanted to do something meaningful. It was about books, it was about our other health apps. I have never had any motivation, for example, to work in gambling. If you propose me $1 billion, I would not take a CEO position in gambling company. It's just I just don't want. It's against my values, and I don't have any interest to that. And we understood very well the size of problem because we had the experience with health and fitness apps before. But question about knowledge. We didn't have knowledge, but also we had humility to understand that we didn't have knowledge. And because of that, we started to analyze and we started to listen users and doctors. And I remember that before starting Flow, our document about this market and potential product had 700 pages. We are making still all decisions based on data and based on user research. I checked this number. Up to this moment, we have done in Flow more than 1,000 of user researchers. We have user researcher in each product team. And we are talking with users all the time. Then we combine that with data from the app, and we are making decisions subjectively. And it was our way to make a good product for users without any own knowledge about this field. To listen users and doctors very, very careful and be very humble about own knowledge.
How do you think about the Henry Ford quote, which is, if I listen to my customers, I'd build a faster horse?
It may be right about absolutely new category of something. But when we started our product, our market was enough big and already formed. We had hundreds of competitors, and some of them big, and some of them raised a significant capital. And for example, let's imagine one of our competitors, Glow. It was started by Max Levchin, like a key member of PayPal Mafia. They raised from Anderson Horowitz and Founders Fund 30 million almost immediately. They started 3 years before Flow. And we had such competitors, and it was a rather formed market. It was not empty market, but it was also opportunity to learn from them. It was good opportunity to not to be a newcomer, but have advantage to learn from other products.
What did you learn from them, and why did you beat them?
It's very similar at the beginning with like a race. Like all cars starts approximately at the same point or at the same point, and all cars are the same. And then you need like a little advantage. But then when you're making many rounds, like you're getting more and more distance. It means that it's almost kind of bifurcation point. You are getting a little advantage at the beginning, and then in years your advantage is becoming huge. And the ultimate reason behind that it's a flywheel. Like it's like just a cumulative effect of many things. And at the beginning, like our apps were honestly pretty much similar. But then probably we did some good product decisions. We got additional resources, and we started to invest to our product much more than our competitors. We invested just to product, up to this moment, 150 million. And we mostly had engineers in Eastern Europe, like to understand that in standards of UK or United States, you should multiply that on 2. And then we created this big Flow, this super app, because of this investment. And this product became so good, so much better than competitors, then it won naturally. But at the beginning, all our products were almost the same, and difference was very tiny.
So I'm an investor, and we chatted before about some of your views on VCs, which was entertaining. I don't like competitive markets, Dmitry, because I think it's very hard to stand out. I think your customer acquisition costs are high, your churn is high, product marketing is difficult, and I find them challenging to invest in. What would you say to me with that mindset?
It's good to have good competitors because you have much opportunity to learn from them, and the good competition speed up your own company because you just feel this competition. Your team feels this competition. Team is not getting complacent. But also, it's like pretty much like a fixed pie mentality that like I should have a monopoly to take this pie. No, when you have good competition, pie is getting bigger because products are better, like customers are more educated, and the total market is getting bigger. Of course, nobody wants to be in this like kind of red blood ocean market when you have tiny margin and a ton of competition. But in case if it's normal competition, it's good.
When you first launched this V3 of Flow, having had the 2 which didn't work so well, and the simplified Flow, Did you have immediate product market fit? Take me to that.
That moment when we launched Flow, maybe 1 month ago, I immediately understood that it had chance to become really big because of retention. I saw like a retention I had never seen before, and we had many apps. And I just combined two numbers, like total addressable market, women, and retention. And I understood that potential is tremendous by combination of these two metrics. And retention is really rare in health and fitness, pretty naturally, because retention is not about product. Retention is about user cases. What many people don't understand, that retention is not about product. Retention is about user case. It means that you may create the perfect app for gym, fitness app, and perfect app for gym will have terrible retention. Why? Because gyms themselves have terrible retention. You know, this like a gym business model, like to sell 1,000 membership for gym with capacity in 100 people, because gyms know that like 900 people would never visit. And why apps would work better than gyms? Of course, it's about nature of people. They wouldn't. And it's so rare to see good retention in health and fitness. And when I saw that, I understood that it will be very huge.
What was it about the retention numbers that you can share that gave you such confidence? Was it the D7, which is the day 7, the D14, the D28? Was it the daily usage? What was it which made you go, wow, we have something?
It was about long-term retention. Long-term retention. It means that how many users stays for 6 months and more.
So, okay, so D180, which is 6 months, what was it?
It's again, retention is user case. Like you may improve retention by good product, or you may destroy retention by bad product, but the essence of retention is natural user case. And natural user case based on natural necessity for women to organize life around cycle. You can't skip that. You may skip gym, but you can't skip period. And because of that, retention is very good. But then our big idea was, okay, if it's so unique and retention is so high, could we build something more valuable than period tracker based on that? And the ultimate reason why Flow became so successful was this idea of like kind of super app. Let's take period tracker as a core product, and let's surround this period tracker by deeper, more valuable health features and content, and the period tracker would become driver of user acquisition and more significantly retention, but all these features around would create value. It's something similar on Gmail ecosystem. Like Gmail itself drives acquisition and retention, but these apps for documents, editing, for calls, etc. drives value. But if you take out email, it would not work. And the same with period tracker. But if you don't have this ecosystem, it's not monetizable because the value is just too tiny.
Did you know that from day one?
I think we concluded that very, very early, and significantly because of our deep analysis of the market. I remember that I recently reviewed my first deck for our seed round in 2016, and this idea of big like super app based on period tracker was already in this document. It means that it was a very early idea. It just took like 9 years and 150 million of just product investment to create it. And probably at that moment we didn't anticipate that it would take so long and so much money.
So then you have this moment of, wow, we actually have something. 6 month retention is incredible. How were you acquiring customers at that point? Customer acquisition from 0 to 1 million is very hard. You have little brand, you have little word of mouth. How were you acquiring customers, and what did that look like?
The most significant was to create the best product. And the best product means that users were happy and they were providing good ratings. And then like system of promotion of App Store and Google Play started to work, because they have algorithms which promotes good apps, and they usually look on retention, average rating, other parameters. And if your app is really good, it's like algorithm promoting your app at the top, the same as with website. And because the product was good, we got our first traffic just organically, but it was general traffic based on like kind of searches like period tracker. But then, when because of retention we started to get bigger and bigger and bigger audience, then word of mouth started to work. And word of mouth is probably the single predictable way how to get organic traffic. Because if you have a big mouth, then people would advise your product, and then you would start to get organic traffic. And now we have mostly organic traffic because of word of mouth rather than because of such generalistic searches like period tracker. But again, if you ask me what's prerequisite of organic traffic, I would say retention is prerequisite of organic traffic, because first you need to get active audience. Users should get happy. They will start to advise your product, and then you will get organic traffic. And probably the biggest question is how to get like an initial audience. In our case, we got them organically, but in your reality, probably you must buy them. It's less realistic nowadays to get initial audience organically.
So that was going to be my question, which is like, do you believe then if you build it, they will come? Or is that not the case and you actually have to have a completely paid strategy today?
It's much more difficult nowadays than it used to be 10 years ago, much more difficult. Sometimes it happens, and very often because of virality. But in most of cases, you need to start this process by paid user acquisition. But if your product is shitty, it will not be helpful.
How long did it take you to get to 1 million users?
1 year.
1 year. Was that much quicker than you anticipated?
Probably. But also, I remember, again, from this first deck for seed round, and as I understood, you met with our first investor, Flint Capital.
Andrew.
Yeah, Andrew from Flint Capital. In this deck, you know, like you're always exaggerating your future in decks for venture capitals. And of course, like we put like arrogant lies to this document. We didn't believe in these numbers, and you probably shouldn't when you're like presenting that to investors. And we said that, like in 2020 or 2022, we will have 3 or 4 million monthly active users and 3 million in revenue, and company will cost 20 million. Probably real numbers like 10 times bigger, at least.
Why did you get it so wrong? What did you not see?
I didn't think that we would get big share of the market so fast, because market was formed and competitive, and I didn't have hope to get big share of this market with hundreds of competitors easily, and but it happened.
Do you really think that is just because you had a better product?
Ultimately, yes. Because up to the very recent times, we didn't spend money for paid user acquisition. It was organic growth, and it was organic growth because users liked our products, and the metrics of our product were so good that App Store and Google Play were promoting it. But we started to spend like more or less significant money for paid user acquisition maybe in 2020, 2021. Before that, it was like rather minuscule volume.
Why did you decide to spend on paid then?
Because we started monetization, and when we got monetization, it was just like kind of you put money and you get money back. You put money, you can get money back.
Absolutely, this is the case. But while we're on that, I spoke to some of your team and they said, well, not a weakness, but you know, something interesting about Dmitry is he doesn't love brand or PR. And it's an interesting point because most do actually. Why don't you like brand or PR?
I don't understand what is brand. And once I tried to understand, maybe 2 years ago, I was in process of hiring of chief marketing officer, and I had maybe 30 different candidates to meet. And I was asking the same question, what's the brand by your opinion, to 30 different CMOs. And I got 30 different answers.
Can I give you mine?
Yeah.
I think it's like the way that it makes the customer feel. How they feel when they see your logo, when they touch your product. That is your brand. What they say when you're out of the room.
Yeah, but I just don't feel that I understand well this topic, and very often there are two words people use for everything and for any situation, and very often without any meaning. Two placeholders is brand and culture. You may describe everything by brand and you may describe everything by culture, but usually it doesn't have any sense, and you need to ask clarifying questions, because you always may say, our situation is bad because we have bad brand, or our situation is bad because we have bad culture. Yeah, it describes everything and nothing.
Is the brand that you have with Flow?
And talking about PR, I think it's slightly different. It's mostly about my internal belief that product defines everything, and I always very frugal in spending money out of product. It means I'm very generous in spending money for product, and I'm very frugal, very greedy to spend money not for product. And when I see kind of budget for something like several $100,000 and I don't understand the impact, I better would spend this money for product, and I take this money and move this money to product. Sometimes even up to extremes. For example, I never use business class because all the time, and I'm running company with 200 million in revenue, probably like it's the time to start using business class for the CEO. But I never use business class even in my trips to United States, even to Seattle or San Francisco, because all the time I'm thinking, okay, 5,000-10,000. I would better to pay 1 month of salary to developer in Lithuania than to waste this money for my comfort. And I will like take this money and put this money to product. It's my philosophy that product defines everything.
I don't think I've ever had a CEO like you on the show. Honestly, you are one of the most humble people I've ever had on this show. And I've done 10 years of this show. Like, this is fascinating. Do you think there's ever a point where that holds you back? You know, Flow is a massive brand now. People care about the Flow brand. Do you think that the hesitation to spend money on billboards, brand, marketing is going to hold you back?
Maybe, but, you know, there are many ways to be successful. It's a very simplistic way of thinking that there is manual how to run a company. Like, and page 100, do that. Page 110, do that. If you look on history of any company or any CEO, you would see that everything is so nuanced, everything is so unique, every journey is so unique, and there are just nothing you may say like kind of you should do that and you shouldn't do that. Like you just should understand your strengths. You should understand your way. You should not do something what's natural, not natural for you. But then like there are thousands of ways to be successful, and you just should choose your way to be successful and make your company successful.
One big piece of advice that's often given in startups, Dmitry, is speed is everything, and you've got to move really fast. And that's the secret to success in the early days. Do you agree with that?
The most significant early days is not to die too early, because usually you need to iterate several times to find something that works. And you increase speed, but you waste your resources on the way, probably it's a bad advice. If you combine your speed with right spending of resources, and you just you have your 1 million and it's enough to make 3, 4, 5 iterations rather than one, then speed is the right word. But I would not say that it's about speed. It's about right distribution of resources to have several chances for success.
That means that you need to raise, in often cases with consumer, quite a large seed round. How big was your seed round?
It was 300,000. Valuation was 3 million. But remember, company was in Belarus and it was 10 years ago. Like everything was much cheaper. But you may believe that it's extremely good
300,000 at 3 million.
Yeah. And company now costs like more than 1 billion. It means that it's 300x. 300x to this investment, if I'm calculating well.
Oh my God. Wow. Okay. Take me to that. How was the seed round?
They just decided to invest to us because we had successful success before with apps, and it was not like a so big belief in our idea, but more belief that these guys will figure out something because they had success before. But and I think they had arguments because it was so contrarian idea, but probably it was the best or one of the best investment for the fund in history of this fund. Like you're like as a seed round investor or early stage investors, you just need one investment like that in your life, and you're done. It means you will be rich.
Yeah. That's the business model of venture capital, Dmitry. That's why it's a very good business. It's one of the only businesses in the world where you can do 100 things and mess up 99 of them. Can you imagine if I told you you can do 99 versions of flow and 98 can be shit, but one's good.
But it's to the question, what is the most required trait of the founder? And my personal opinion is that founder must be crazy, because if you are smart and you may understand your odds, like how would you do that? Why would you decide to start something with chances of success like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5%? Like it's better to play lottery. Like smart people, they work in McKinsey, and founders, they're crazy. Because it's not rational. You're just crazy. Like you can't justify that by any rational thinking. Why would you do something with odds of success in 1%?
I worry that is no longer the case. I agree with you. Crazy and obsessed. Yeah, I'm not too dissimilar to you in these ways. I'm crazy and obsessed. I could have been a lawyer and paid very happily, and instead I decided to do a podcast, which made no money. But I love what we do. My worry is there's so much money in venture capital that if you're smart enough, you can be a founder, play the founder game, play startups, get paid quite well, and try it. It's a free option.
We didn't have such luxury in our days because...
but do you see what I mean? Do you worry that it's the same now, where we don't have crazy founders like you?
I think times have come back. It means that it was a period of time between approximately 2019 to 2022 when it was true, but nowadays it's quite difficult to raise capital. It's quite difficult, and I think it's again the same.
Was there ever an easy round to raise?
No, it's never easy.
But your numbers were so good. I saw your numbers in Sensor Tower. I tweeted about our show, and I got all of these data providers send me your numbers, and they are consistently great.
Because venture capital investment is default no game, and you may be very good, but in any case you will get 100 no's to get one yes. And what's the most difficult for founders is that he be in this mindset when you every day you're getting no, and it's soul breaking. It's really difficult. Even layoffs are simpler, because layoffs is like computation, cut, and you're just in 2 or 3 weeks and you continue your work. But fundraising is it's each day you're getting no, and you're starting to lose a belief in yourself, and you're starting to feel that maybe I'm
you
not
lose
the right
belief in
person.
yourself?
I had moments when I doubted that maybe we are doing something wrong, and maybe I'm not the right person. And for me, fundraising was also much more difficult because of my origins, my accent, and because I'm kind of not a kind of right profile, and I was pretty weird type for investors. It made my job of fundraising much more difficult.
Do you think that made your job much more difficult? Do you think, respectfully, if you sounded like me, as we said, loo, not toilet, do you think that would have been easier?
Much easier, because investors, they, especially in big funds, you usually start your conversation not with partners or managing partners, but with analysts or with principals. And these people usually have profile kind of graduated in Harvard, MBA in Stanford, or graduated in Stanford, MBA in Harvard. and they believe in people like them, and they don't believe in people like me. And it's really difficult to bridge this barrier of this elite, because they really kind of sort you out. And I understand, like there's like there are many talkings about this problem that it's so difficult to minorities of any kind to raise, and I may say that it's true. It's true, because you just sort it out at this level of right people.
So I'm going to get in trouble for this. I think you are much less fundable than a minority woman from Stanford.
Oh yeah, of course. And it's easier nowadays when we have proven that our product is monetizable and we may achieve success, but it was really difficult at the beginning when I had combination of my kind of weird personality and all the combination of disbelief in our model, in our product, because we didn't have benchmarks to show that, look, like this like success, and we will make the same success, because it was first product of such kind, and nobody believes that it's possible to build something monetizable or successful.
My question to you is, okay, so then we start monetization. That's a new game. We've got to prove that we can make money now. We've proved that we've got users who love it. How did monetization go? Like, we turn it on. How did it go?
Monetization is interesting because, and I'm coming back to our discussion about brand and PR. Like, our big mistake at the very beginning was belief that it's enough to create value and people would buy. But then we started to understand that also we need to sell, we need to explain product, we need to experiment. And we started to do that, and just one number. Conversion to premium on onboarding increased in several years 8 times, 800%, because of optimization, because of hundreds of A/B tests, and because of this approach that we should not just create value, we need to explain value, we need to sell. And it was huge shift in mindset in the company, because before that, kind of, it's significant is just to create the best product and people will see and buy. No. You also should explain why they should buy. Even Apple spent much resources to explain that you're not like arriving to shop and you're getting your iPhone in gray box. It should be beautiful, it should be very attractive. And the same with monetization. It's a balance between value and how you sell this value. And you should find proper balance between that. You may be too focused on selling and like overpromise, or you may be like us, we did at the beginning. You may create value, but you may undersell, and everything should be right. It should be right balance.
I think you consistently undersell. I spoke to many of your investors and they said that you're their best founder, but you undersell yourself consistently. When you think about how to sell value, and you produce value, and then there's how to sell it, what did you learn about how to sell value through the monetization process?
But I am some, like, maybe I'll answer first question about this comment that I can't sell myself.
Not can't, you undersell.
Yeah.
That's, you're too humble.
It's pretty natural because of my imposter syndrome and inferiority complex, and I'm not even playing. It's my pretty natural state, but also I think it's my superpower, because I'm always so insecure about my position of the company, that I'm always trying to do my job the best, because I never feel comfortable. And it's my pretty natural state, and I believe that a big part of my success is just because of my imposter syndrome. And it's like a strange way to get your superpower, but it's what is true.
Has that got better with time? Flow now does 200 million in revenue. It is worth over $1 billion. Do you have less imposter syndrome?
No. I would even say that I'm getting more anxiety, because now my responsibilities are even bigger. I always, like, for me, this round was kind of, you may imagine that this is like a sport when you're jumping like through the bar. And when when you're progressing, you put your bar higher and higher. And one moment, like my bar became 1 meter high, and I look on this bar and worrying, like, could I jump so high? Couldn't I? At least I will make the best attempt.
I love it. It's just so rare. You know, we interview a lot of American founders, Dmitry, and the humility that you have is not shared by a lot of them. What were the biggest challenges then as you started to scale monetization? What really became tough?
What really changed, what we didn't understand when we started monetization 7 years ago, that habit to pay of people for subscription is changing. Because when we started monetization, our dream was maybe we would monetize 5% of American audience, because that time it was quite a bar. Now we monetized maybe, if we exclude teenagers, 25-30% of our American audience, and we don't see that our monetization is slowing down. But it's not just because the product is becoming better, what's true. It's not just because of our experimentation, what's true. It's also because people accepted the idea to pay for subscriptions, and it was huge cultural change. And without that, it would be impossible. It's a cultural shift.
Did you test pricing a lot? I know what a data-driven culture you have. When you look at the pricing that you have, what are your biggest lessons that you have from pricing?
The biggest lesson from pricing is that you should not make a decision just based on price. You should understand the full funnel, because you may increase your price, but you would decrease retention or activation, or you would destroy your user acquisition, and then your ultimate revenue would be smaller. It means that ultimately you should decide based on top line and bottom line in your P&L and optimized for that. And then all these internal parameters, you should look on them together, because you should optimize the function of many variables if you talk about mathematics, because it's not just about optimizing of price. It's about optimizing of 5-6 variables simultaneously. And you should optimize them to find like the best combination when you're getting the most revenue from your product.
Can I ask, on the freemium versus premium split, what have been some big lessons in how to provide enough value in freemium where they retain and they love your product, but also keep enough value in premium where they're willing to pay for it and make that transition?
I think just experimentation. Usually we decide on that based on experiments. When we are creating something and we're deciding to make it free or put behind paywall, we are testing to see how it would influence revenue, but also how it would influence retention. And for us, it's always balance of two metrics. And we would never accept experiment which would increase revenue a lot, but also which would destroy retention. And it's a combination of these two metrics. The best is like when retention is the same, but revenue is growing.
So when did we know monetization was working? When did you look at it and go, okay, we've got a good machine here?
In case of subscription monetization, the most significant is retention, because if you are very good in selling, probably you may convince people to pay for almost anything. But much more tricky is that you provide so good service, then they would continue paying. And retention should be good, and it's the main sign of success of this business model. But this business model, I believe, is the best model to create good product, because your incentives are aligned with user, because user pay just when you create long-term value, and it motivates you to create long-term value. Because if, for example, you monetize your product, I don't know, by one-time payment, then you would optimize for conversion. If you monetize your product by advertising, probably you would try to increase engagement as possible, what we see in media. But in case of subscription, you're really optimized for value, because your model works just when users stay and continue to pay for years. Or it would be just a treadmill, and you would exhaust growth very, very fast.
So we have that monetization engine working. How long did it take to get to $1 million in revenue?
Million is very simple. It's, I don't know, like, million is very simple. Like 100 million is much more difficult. Millions is very, very simple.
How long did it take to get to 100 million in revenue?
4 years, maybe.
Wow.
But we had a substantial audience when we started monetization, because we started monetization in 2018 and product existed for 3 years up to this
How
moment.
many users did you have when you started that monetization journey?
Maybe 15, 20 million
Wow.
monthly active users.
Wow. That's incredible. Is there anything that you'd do differently about how you launched monetization now you know everything that you do?
I would do that much earlier, because start of monetization unlocked for us flywheel of value creation, and it's very simple. When you start monetization, you're getting revenue, and you may use this revenue to build product or to raise bigger round, and then you create better product, and flywheel starts to work, but then you invest more and more and more, and distance between you and competitors is getting bigger and bigger. And when you don't have monetization, you should be very scrappy, and development is very frugal, and development is very slow.
I completely hear you on retention being so important to any consumer app. My question to you is, bluntly, given the use case being periods, it's probably one of the only use cases in consumer that is literally, you can't avoid it. Anything from like eating, you can fast, you can gym, you can not go to the gym. Is this a one-off case that can't be replicated?
In health and fitness, it's difficult to find the cases with good retention. There are some cases, for example, wearable devices, they have very good retention just because you have physically them. And
have you thought about doing devices?
No, because you always should be focused. Once I got very good lesson from Vinod Khosla, founder of Khosla Ventures, many years ago. And that moment our company was big enough, and we had many ideas how to build our product and many ideas for monetization, because audience was big, and I was speaking to him, describing we may do that, and that, and that. And at the end of my pitch, I asked him, Vinod, you're very experienced. Could you give me just one advice, but the most valuable you think for me? And he said, young man, business and product building is very similar to marriage. You have many opportunities before your marriage, but to be happy, you should choose one and really focus. And my advice to you, choose one business model and be really focused. And I learned this lesson, and I was very focused since. And I had a huge resistance to all proposals to take any other opportunities.
I love that, and Vinod's fantastic. My question to you is, does the super app not go against focus? Because with the super app mentality, you are building multiple products in the same time simultaneously versus purely focusing on one product at a time. Are they paradoxical?
Yeah, for some extent, but you may solve this problem by org structure. You may create teams which solely focused on own part of the product, and for them it's a single product, and they have full focus on this product. And in our company, each team has own part of product to own. Then you have a difficulty to combine all these parts to the single experience, and it's not easy. It's very challenging, but it's the way how to have focus in the case of super app.
What have been the biggest lessons in how to create that synchronicity between the different parts?
It's extremely difficult. We're still struggling.
Is that the biggest weakness that you have today, do you think?
I think it's really significant to save simplicity of our product, because each year we have deep research of our user base. What is the most significant for them in our product? And for 7 or 8 years in a row, the most popular answer is simplicity. Simplicity, nothing else. And the biggest mistake we may do is to destroy this simplicity, because it's the essence of our success, and it's the essence of success for any product. And it's really difficult to have simplicity when you have so many features and when you have this concept of super app.
It is. It's one of the hardest things. It's how do you prevent feature creep with time and stay simple over time. So we have that success with monetization. Now we get to the series A and the B, I think. How were the series A's and B's?
It was always difficult.
Did you enjoy the meetings or not really?
No, because you need to meet hundreds of investors and repeat the same, and at some moment it's just boring. Like you're just repeating the same again. It's just boring.
Was there one or two that stood out?
I'm not trying to flatter them, but and my answer is honest, but I was really impressed by General Atlantic. And at the end of this process, we had 5 bidders. And I had a really big hope that General Atlantic would not provide a bad term sheet, because they showed so much better understanding of our business model and showed so deeper approach. Then they really impressed me by the depth of work, and I'm really happy by this outcome. I'm not even flattering; it's not my nature. But I was kind of praying.
What did they do to impress you so much?
Firstly, they had very deep understanding of our business model because of previous investment to Duolingo and Chess.com and similar companies, and it's really rare to see investor with deep understanding of consumer subscriptions, because there are not so many successful consumer subscriptions and just several public companies based on this business model. And most investors, they just don't understand this business model. They confuse it with SaaS, and they're making very wrong conclusions because of that.
What are the wrong conclusions that I would make comparing it to SaaS?
For example, you may apply the idea that retention should be very high, because if you lose your customer, you lose it forever. And it's the fact for B2B, but it's not the fact for B2C, because in B2C, in case of consumer-facing apps, customers come, customers go, customers come back, customers go. We already have maybe 40% of installs from users who used our app previously, and because of that, you should analyze not like retention itself, but retention of revenue, for example. You should analyze how cohort behave in time and what revenue you're getting because of this behavior, that people are coming back and forth, they stop subscription, they start subscription, and you just can't apply this very simplistic logic of business SaaS that if people pay and then they churn, they will never come back, or they will never start paying again. It means that logic in analysis of retention should be very different.
Do you think the consumer multiple hit that happens with consumer revenue is fair? So if we look at, say, Flow, 200 million at $1 billion, that's a 5x. That is much lower than traditional enterprise software companies would be afforded. You know, I'm sad to admit that I'm invested in a SaaS business that is at 7 million in ARR and valued at 1.3 billion.
I think for current market, we may check this number, but average multiple to revenue for public SaaS at this moment is close to 8, and it was 5 last year, and it was 30 or so in 2021. It means that it's declined 5 or 6 times as well. It means that
do you think that's right?
It's market.
But do you think we underappreciate consumer revenue?
Do you agree that in rational world, you can't have in 2021 multiple 30-40, and in 2022 multiple 5 for the same company? Like, it's market is not rational.
There's a brilliant statement, which is the market can stay irrational longer than your company can stay solvent.
Yeah. It's a, and because of that, like, even kind of conversation about like what's fair price is useless, because markets are irrational. Like, nothing is rational. That there is like a 2 years difference between 2 events, and in one event this company cost 30 revenues, and in another event like 5 revenues. So like, you may understand crisis, you may understand that rate was 2% higher or 2% lower, but it's not like a reason why company would cost like 5 or 6 times higher or lower. It means that it's just a reflection that markets are very irrational and price is irrational as well. And again, it's a question when you're making justification of future value of the company based on current market multiples. Are you trying to lie to yourself or so? Because who knows if markets change dynamic 5 times in 2 years?
Do you think in 5 years' time we'll have 5 plus $10 billion consumer subscription companies? We have Duolingo today, which is kind of 9.5, I believe.
Maybe today 10. I need to check. Yesterday it was almost 10.
Okay, so let's give it a 10. Let's say we give it a 10. But that's kind of it.
I think we will have them because this business model is growing. And you may just check numbers of Apple, and you may see that Apple got from consumer subscription in 2017, I don't know, 5 billion, and it's projected that we'll get maybe 100 billion or so next year. Like, its model is growing, and because model is growing, then we'll have huge companies.
Do you think VCs provide value?
Of course.
What value do you think we provide?
We have one. I will not. Maybe I may share because he joked in Twitter. We have a early stage investor, Nikita Beer, very nice product.
You have Nikita as an investor?
Yeah, like a small investor, but he invested early. And he joked recently that the single role of investor is that he outrage entrepreneur, and then entrepreneur have the full energy to prove investors that he's wrong. And so of course it's a joke, but it's partly true. But I would say that a good investor may create ton of value by proper work in the board. And good board brings ton of value, and the biggest value from the board that you're just accountable. And you have moments of truth like board meetings when you need to make proper reflection, prepare proper materials, and explain future, explain past. And without board meetings, you would never have patience or energy to do that. But when you have such moments of reflection, then your business is getting better because you're just reflecting all the time. And good investors, they being part of the board, they may provide good advice, they may make you better. It's almost kind of if you have like coach, like what's the difference between having coach or visiting gym by yourself?
Accountability.
Accountability is really significant for success.
What do annoying VCs do? I want to be the best VC. We joked about me being a VC in my 9th year, but I want to be the best VC, and I care passionately about that. If you were to advise me, Harry, I've met hundreds of VCs who've said no, don't do these things. What would those things be?
If you meet like a first-time entrepreneur, start your pitch from explaining that it's normal and it's default play for VCs to say no, and it's nothing personal, and like you should just understand rules of games, and just put on your wall kind of billboard, like I will get 100 no's, and each time you're getting no, put just one line, and you should be very, very. You should understand the rules of the game, and it should not be a personal for you, because you should that you're first saying no.
When you get no's, I get no's. I fundraise too for my funds. When I get a no, I'm like, I'm gonna prove you fucking wrong.
It's a very, very significant driving force for success in the case of many people.
Is it for you?
For some extent. For some extent, but it was more significant for me at the beginning, because at the beginning all people around were so skeptical about our business and idea, and not just investors, and I had this bitterness all the time that I didn't have any understanding of our vision and any support. And then when we proved that our ideas are worthy and this is a good sustainable business, then it became easy.
I get that totally. Do you feel vindicated now for everyone who didn't believe in you, who was like, ugh, they don't know what they're doing? Do you feel,
No, because I'm just trying, being just rational, like some weird folks from Belarus starting period tracker and promising that it will become unicorn, and there are no examples of that, and why would you believe in that? Nobody who is rational would believe in that. It was now it's so evident, but at that moment it was pretty rational not to believe.
I get you. It's just sad. Our job is to believe in the outliers. It's to believe the best in people. Yeah, that's how I view our job.
I think the main job of early stage investor is to distinguish cases with 100% of failure, with cases with 99% of failure, and cases with small potential outcome and big potential outcome. And you should find cases when fail is not 100% guaranteed and the potential outcome is big. And it means that for you is the most significant is to understand that the team is not stupid. They know what they do, and by that you would reduce your chances of failure from 99% to 95%. But then market should be big because it's impossible to get disproportional outcome from small market.
Big market. You have a huge market. I spoke to Jessie at GA before this. She said, ask him, how does Flow go from a $1 billion company to a $10 billion company?
I may answer this question just using like benchmarks. For example, what's the difference between Flow and Duolingo? Partially, it's scale of revenue. We have 200 million, they have 600 million, and it's achievable in several years for us to be in the range of 600 million. We have approximately the same.
Why is their multiple so much better than yours?
Because it's a public company which simultaneously is growing very fast top line and bottom line. They have simultaneously 40-50% of top line growth, and they have very nice profitability growth. And it's extremely rare to see such companies as a public companies. It's like just old rule of 40, and you rarely see like rule of 40, like 50-60 at the public markets. And also like people believe that they still have good potential for expansion because there are so many learners of foreign languages in the world. I think combination of these two factors, but I think mostly it's just because combination of 40% top line growth and the 20 and the growth of disproportional growth of profitability is so rare. And it means that if you want to cost 10 billion, we probably should achieve 600 million in revenue and then show profitability and continue growing with the same pace.
Can I invest now?
No, it's difficult.
Hey, listen, my job is to be a VC, Dmitry. It's got to be worth a try, right? Can I ask you a bit of a weird one on your leadership? Do you think you're a good CEO, and how have you changed as a leader over time?
I have a nice story for you. When I was in Stanford Business School, we had one lesson with famous professor of management, and he did like the next exercise. He started to ask people in the room, what is the necessary trait of a good CEO? And people started to say like, this, like good CEO should be knowledgeable. Good CEO should have integrity. Good CEO should provide inspiration. And maybe in 20 minutes, like whiteboard was covered by different traits of good CEO. And then this professor looked on this whiteboard and said, probably even Jesus Christ was worse. It means that in this lesson that people, they're making kind of glorification of CEOs, that CEOs should be perfect, they should be almost kind of gods, but CEOs is just like the same people. And they can't be so perfect as people think they should be. You should just understand your weaknesses, your strengths, you should understand why you're useful, and you should just make your proper work as good as you can.
What is your biggest strength? What is your biggest weakness?
My biggest strengths that I may analyze, I may make like a rather good conclusions in very simple manner. It means that people, they need clarity and simplicity, and I think I may provide clarity and simplicity. I'm not overwhelming them by information. I may take much of information on myself, but then I provide to them like a solution, decision, description in very simple form, and they understand and believe and follow. And my main weakness, sometimes I may be too slow for change. And the biggest events in my life happened when the life burned my bridges. But now I understand that I should have burned my bridges by myself. For example, I started to make apps. Very significant reason was that because it was crisis of 2008, and book publishing was in terrible situation. I started to focus just on flow because my old portfolio declined because of political situation in region. And when everything was good, I was just delaying necessary change, and I was just waiting this crisis for life to burn my bridges. And then when necessary change happened, then I started to move.
I'm fascinated on this one. You've been very successful over the last 10 years. What does money mean to you, Dmitry? You're such an analytical...
Honestly, not so much, because I have a rather humble lifestyle. Honestly, I despise luxurious brands. I despise luxury. I even don't have car, and I don't have any expensive item. I don't have anything would be kind of branded or luxurious. I don't need business classes or private jets. I would want to have interesting and meaningful life and feel that I'm useful. And honestly, I never think about my personal money. I'm absolutely honest here. Never, because I have so little need for myself that it's not even a kind of motivation for me. I'm very motivated by the story of founder of General Atlantic, Chuck Flinney. Do you know this story?
No, please tell me.
General Atlantic was started by a man who earned a huge fortune by duty-free shops, by starting duty-free shops. Because of this venture and because of General Atlantic, he earned billions, 9 billion or something like that. And then secretly he distributed all his money for charity, absolutely secretly, nobody knew. And he died 2 years ago, and then the story became public that he just gifted away in his lifetime all his money and without any pride, without sharing to anybody, absolutely secretly. And it's the best example for me how you should live your life. You should create something valuable commercially, but then it's your duty to return this money for society and to do that very efficiently. And I believe that if you're really successful, second part of your life should be not to earn money, but to spend your money for the sake of society. And I believe that it's a huge sin to pass billions to your children.
Have you always been this good? You are objectively one of the kindest humans I've had on the show. Really, this is shows like this are why I love doing what I do. I didn't expect this type of show. Have you always been like this, or has it come over time?
I just got better because of many problems and pains I had in my life, and I have a little regrets about my professional life. And my biggest regret that when I was young and when I was less sensitive, I fired several people without decency. It means in rude form. And it was maybe 10-15 years ago, and I still feel guilty because of that 10 years after. Just because to feel empathy, you should get pain by yourself, and then you would start to feel pain of other people. And it's just a trait of age and a trait of a difficult journey. I was not like that when I was young.
You also work with your brother, Yuri. Not many people know this, but I work with my brother. He's sitting upstairs now. I love it, but everyone says don't work with family. What's your biggest advice to me on how to make it work so successfully with your brother?
Again, I repeat my advice, never take general advice. General advice is always bullshit, and everything is nuanced. And I worked with my brother for 30 years or so, if we start considering our work from mushroom gathering or potato field work. And we always work together in book publishing, in all our ventures. And I remember that our first boss in publishing house, and it was 2005 or so, we worked together in publishing house. We were responsible for computer literature. He said that you should always work together because you're so different, and when you combine your personalities, it's almost perfect, because Yuri is good to make a path and you're good to make a road. and you understand that, and that I'm maybe too slow in deciding something, maybe indecisive, but then when I start doing something, I'm doing that perfectly. And Yuri, like, he is the opposite. He's kind of idea generator, he's venture driver, but he's not an operational person altogether. But when we have this combination, it's almost perfect, and it works really well. But also, I have worked all my life with my wife. I married very early, like
How old were you when you got married?
21.
Wow.
20 years ago. And she was a student in the same group in university, and she earned my trust because I was a very bad student because I was working, and she was helping me with like advice when to visit university and with different home tasks, and she was my friend at that moment, and we started to work together, and again we have been working together for 20 years. She was responsible for content in Flow at the beginning of Flow, and she's now my executive assistant, and we spent together, like working together 20 years, and very successfully.
Your wife is your EA?
Yeah.
How is that? That must be hard.
No, it's very effective because we may decide like what to do or what not to do at the breakfast.
That is amazing. I absolutely love that. Yeah, there's no way that would work for me. Are you a wartime leader or a peacetime leader, do you think?
I was pretty effective in both modes because I have one trait. Like, there are 4 types of people based on level of negative and positive emotions. Like people who have low emotions in case of bad situation, and like low, high, low, high, low. Like it depends on how are your emotions high or low in case of problems and in case of excitement. For example, if you have a huge excitement, but also like a huge stress in case of problems, probably it's difficult to be a CEO. And my advantage is that I'm kind of low personality. It means that I never feel too much excitement, but also I never feel too much stress. And because of that, I'm just, in case of all our calamities, I was very, very calm, and I didn't have much stress. I just played my duty.
What was the biggest calamity, do you think? When you look back now, what was that was hard?
Emotionally, for our organization was hard that moment when we got political instability in Belarus and then war in Ukraine, and we had to relocate urgently the whole company, and also I had to relocate myself in 2 days. I spent 38 years in Belarus, and I built my life there. I had like my house, my gardens, and I spent many years to grow my gardens, and then I had to make decision to move out of Belarus in 2 days, and I have never come back. And then the same decision most of our people had to make, and it was really difficult. Could you imagine that you have built all your life in countries, then in 2 days you must move to another country with your family, and it was really difficult, and it traumatized me and our people a lot.
I can't imagine that one. I also can't imagine having to move 100 plus people, which you had to do.
I believe even more. I believe that when war started in 2022, we had 70% of our employees in Belarus. It was more than 200, and 90% of them were relocated with families in several days.
How was that process?
Really difficult because borders were closed. It was impossible to get papers, and we had to organize no flights, and we had to organize charters to Armenia and Turkey, and then organize
you ordered charters?
Yeah, because we didn't have flights, and it was impossible to make flights to Europe because all flights were prohibited from the region.
Did the company suffer in any way? I mean,
of course, for half a year we almost didn't have any progress with our product because all people were so stressed and defocused by moving families, and it was a huge distraction, and it was very expensive as well.
How much did it cost?
Many millions. It was very expensive, but it was significant to do because it's a tech company and it's about people, and like this company would not exist without people. And also it was our responsibility to provide this opportunity to our people, because it was quite big chance that Belarus would engage to the war, and it would mean that men would be drafted and borders would be closed, and it was a real risk for life for men, and we had to organize this process.
What did you learn about managing teams and people through this process?
Trust is the most significant. They should trust you. Like you should be a really trustful person or a company to convince 90% of your employees to take family and belongings in today and to move to another country. You should be really trustful for that.
My question to you is, when your mother looks at you and your brother, you guys have achieved such success, and you look back to the potato farms and the mushroom picking, what does she say?
She's not especially emotional.
But she must be proud.
She has never said that.
Would you like her to?
I don't think that it would be natural for her.
I like you so much. This has been so much fun. So I'm going to do a quick fire round. So I say a short statement and you give me your immediate thoughts. Does that sound okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you believe that most around you disbelieve?
I don't believe in talent. I believe that all people are approximately the same. We have the same processor. And what makes people different is just hours of hard work, hard focused work. And when people say to me that I can't accomplish something, I ask a very simple question. How many hours of hard work have you spent for that? And if it's not about 1,000, I'm saying, but why you think that you should achieve something without thousands of hours of hard work?
You don't think smarts has got anything to do with it, like brains?
There are always extremes, but most of people, they have plus minus the same brain. And believe me, I know many billionaires. I met many successful entrepreneurs, and not just entrepreneurs, and I have never seen geniuses. But I believe that what really distinguishes successful people and people who are not successful, beyond just luck is really significant, is the ability to take risk and then work really hard and persistent for a long time. Most of people, they just can't work really hard for a very long time, and it's what distinguishes successful people and less successful people.
Most people don't have discipline, which is you need to not go out and drink with your friends at the end of the day and go back and work. You need to come back after the 90th no and pitch for the 91st time.
Hardest time in my life was when I was in university, but also I was writing my books at nights, and I usually was like working for 18 hours per day for years and was sleeping just 6 hours or so, and for years. But then I achieved a lot because of that, and I have very interesting story about my books. Like that sometimes you need to see many things in prospects, and you need to put many dots on the map of your life. I was in 2004, I wrote like a big book about ActionScript. It's a program language of Macromedia Flash. And that time I didn't earn much from that. But approximately next year, in 2005, this book was gifted to one young boy. He was maybe 12 years old, by his brother, and he said, if you learn programming from this book, you will become a big person. And he learned programming from this book. He started to practice Flash programming, and then 10 years after, 15 years after, he became co-founder of MSQRD. We sold to Facebook, and then we used part of this money to finance Flow. It means that if I didn't wrote this book in 2004, then probably he would not learn programming, and MSQRD would not happen, and then Flow would not have money to be financed. But distance between these two events was more than 10 years. And in your life, you very often you just need much time to see how all lines will be connected. But you have dots to be connected. You need to have dots. You need to do something. You need to move forward.
What CEO do you most admire, and why them?
I would say that I'm against glamorization of CEOs and making them heroes. And I even don't like Glassdoor, when Glassdoor put like a rating of CEO, because I believe that when company is big, or not even big, it's much more teamwork, and CEO is just a role, and people are just people. I always recommend not to read like a book like how to be a great CEO, like you have in your book library, but to read biographies about CEOs, about business. And you would see that even Steve Jobs, he made probably 90% of mistakes in all his decisions, and many stupid mistakes. And he was not God altogether. It's just kind of maybe the single common trait between successful and between all successful CEOs I may found is decisiveness. You should make decisions. And because when you make decisions, you move forward. Even if when decisions are stupid, you are moving forward and you're getting new information, and the next decision will be better. The worst is just this analysis paralysis, not making any decisions.
One of my closest mentors said to me the other day, the heaviest things in life are not iron or gold, but unmade decisions.
Yeah. And sometimes people, they're trying to find like a perfect solution, but the truth of life that nobody knows future, and nobody may make like a perfect decisions just based on information or analysis. Because if it were the case, then McKinsey or banks would be perfect business creators. But you can't see unicorns which were created by McKinsey or banks. Why? Because of unpredictability of the future. And if future is unpredictable, then what's the best? Just make any decision and move forward. Just not stay at the place. Decide something and move forward.
What have you changed your mind on over the last 12 months?
I was much more optimistic about time which would be necessary for generative AI to make impact on businesses. And because maybe in 2 years, 2 or 3 years after the beginning of this hype, I still don't see many examples of real business success based on generative AI. It means that maybe something in programming, maybe something in support, but it's like rather tiny. Like we can't say that there is like any big case, any big business which changed business model or got profitability or growth because of generative AI. And I had hope that the change would happen much faster.
Who do you not have on the board? Who you would most like to have on your board?
Let's say Melinda Gates, because probably Melinda Gates is a person who is doing nowadays the most for female health.
Does it hurt you? I hope it's okay for me to ask. Does it hurt you when people criticize a male CEO of Flow?
I understand why they're criticizing, but also I feel that our success was so beneficial for the industry, because you're VC and you know that VC are making decisions based on benchmarks. And now all VCs will start believing that it's possible to have a great success in this industry, and all founders will have much easier journey than I had. I'm trying to do the best for this company, and I think I was rather good in that. But also I would want, of course, to see that more women are becoming very successful in this journey.
What skill would you most like to improve of yours in leadership?
This is a tricky one. Why it's tricky one? Because as I said, I don't believe in perfect CEOs. I believe that you should understand your strengths and weaknesses, and then augment yourself by people with different strengths, and then you would have like a pretty solid team without defects. And I don't think that even this mentality that you should be perfect is is right. I think it's significant to understand your weaknesses and your strengths. But like for example, nowadays, like I recently hired communication coach because I think I'm rather bad in communication.
I mean, that's funny. I think you are probably one of the best interviews I've ever done. So I would disagree with you, having done 10,000 hours of these. But sure. Final one.
Are you saying that to all your...
Everyone, every one of them. Yeah. Everyone leaves thinking, wow, Harry's such a nice guy. Final one, Dmitry. What question are you not often asked that you should be asked more?
Dmitry, would you want to eat something tasty?
You know what? I'll roll with it. Dmitry, I was really looking forward to this one because I love the business. I didn't know how you were going to be, respectfully. You've been fantastic. Like, you are funny, you are direct. Thank you for being so brilliant, and I really have loved this.
Thank you very much.